Welcome to commUNITY 2021.
Yeah, and we're going to say good riddance to 2020 with this first show of the year because we're going to highlight something good that happened this year.
The banner is behind us. They say it all.
Hi, I'm Pete Gallivan.
And I'm Claudine Ewing. We know that the road to the Super Bowl for the Buffalo Bills ended. It ended in Kansas City. But when you think about this team, they're nothing short of electric.
Yeah, we're not going to show you any highlights. Instead, we're going to highlight some of the good things that the players are doing in our community.
Buffalo Bills cornerback Josh Norman isn't just about making moves on the field. He's one of the Bills making big plays off the field.
I'm running for, lives as well as that, and they can coexist. I really truly believe that, you can coexist in that because people really need help during this time.
Norman is helping small businesses recover from their losses during the pandemic.
Those who have, I think it's our duty to help the small businesses who are not able to work because of shutdowns that the government has placed upon them. And seeing that, knowing that small businesses are the backbone of our economy, not just our economy, but the whole world when you look at it. I mean, everybody fancies a small business like once out of the day.
It's Buffalo Business Blitz.
Because I can only, put myself in their shoes, try to relate a little bit. Like, you have the American dream and now you can't live it because of what's going on in the world. That's kind of put some kind of guidelines to it where we don't totally shut down. Definitely not now, but they have. And so that's why we started a small Buffalo Business Blitz to help out these small businesses and trying to give them $2,000 to $2,500.
We talked about his initiative to always want to give back.
I think my grandpa has a lot to do with it. Just seeing how, he growing up, seeing how he, gave his shirt off his back. And he just had a great spirit about him, But I also was born differently. I have 5 brothers and they aren't on the level of giving that I am to the point where I'm giving like checks and checks away. It's that blind faith that I've always had to where I don't concern myself or worrying about how much money that I receive, more so than I can give back.
It seems like you've fallen in love with the city of Buffalo, the city of good neighbors. What is it about Buffalo that has attracted you?
Nothing attracted me when I first got to car, other than knowing who was here, the guys like Bean and during how I was with them before in Carolina, but I was like, but I do not want to come here. This is the last place on my list to come. And I kid you not, you make plans and God will laugh at them. Because coming here was probably one of the best stops that I've had in my career. I would have never thought Buffalo would have been this way. You talking about keep Buffalo a secret. It is definitely a hidden gem because when you look around, it's up north, but it has a southern feel to it. The places, I'm a nature guy, so I like scenery. And that's one of the things that really captivated me. You have the 4 seasons, and it's so beautiful. Trees, when I started to see them, the fall started to come in, it was like a dark red almost, and it just sat there for 3 weeks to a month, and I was just I had to take a video because I couldn't believe how beautiful it really truly is. And then I went to the falls and I just walked through the whole place and just was in a calm state.
Then there's Zach Moss. 26 Shirts collaborated with the Buffalo Bills running back for this Moss Mode shirt. Some of the proceeds went toward the building of the Lackawanna Life Center. The center will help provide a fitness center, daycare, housing, and more for families in Lackawanna.
They don't have very much. They don't even have a grocery store locally. And to hear something like that is just crazy. Definitely thinking, the year that we're in and stuff like that. And you can just imagine how tough it's been for those people. And, definitely want to do everything we possibly can to continue to raise money.
And while the Bills were red hot on the field, they had someone else feeding them their fuel.
Yeah, so let's see what's cooking with Chef Darian.
The man behind the meals, the personal chef for some Bills players like Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. Let's get to know Chef Darian Bryan. He's been cooking since age 8. He came to Buffalo from Jamaica about 9 years ago.
I love this. I like the way how food makes people happy. So I started doing some experiments on my grandparents. I used to cook them some weird stuff. Like, oh, try this. And I see the reaction in their face. I'm like, you know what? This is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
He attended culinary school at ECC, worked at a few local restaurants, and taught himself as he went on. Joy comes from cooking in front of people, so he did a pop-up restaurant.
So I set up a table in front of like 50 people, and I just cook like a 6-course, 8-course fine dining meal.
How did you connect with Buffalo Bills players to start cooking for them?
So I met Vontae Davis when I was at Prima Cafe in Hamburg. I didn't know who he was. I wasn't big into football. I played soccer. I'm from Jamaica.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I walk over to him, I was just talking to him. He said, oh, I just stopped in for some meal or whatever. I saw him the next day. I'm like, you're back. He's like, man, everything was amazing. Who's in charge? I'm like, well, I'm the chef here. He's like, you want to be my personal chef? I play for the Bills and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll be your chef.
And now he's cooking it up for Steph Diggs.
He loved the Cajun seafood pasta I do for him. And he loved the lamb. He pretty much loved everything I do. The only request he always have, my man says, chef, I don't know about this pink stuff, man. Like, you don't like his stuff like medium nor medium rare. You like it more on the well side.
For Josh Allen, when you did cook for him when he was over at Steph's house,
Yeah.
What did he want?
So I did the tacos. I did jerk shrimp tacos. And I'm the guy that they reach out to when they have like a birthday or a special event or anniversary. I'm a showman. I love to entertain. I love to cook. I love to educate people about food and different culture and different cuisine. My favorite food would definitely be like curry chicken. My wife fell in love with me for my curry chicken.
Really?
She's like, game over. Curry chicken and the coconut rice with the plantains on the side, some green beans. Come on, man.
What's next for you?
I might have something planned for this year. You guys are gonna have to stay tuned for it though.
Coming up on Community, an artist with a real message and a unique style. And we celebrate the life of Bishop Henderson. Welcome back. You know, here on Community, we like to celebrate the creativity and also the talents of Western New Yorkers. And local artist Edris Waddi actually helped design the T-shirt that pays tribute to Zach Moss and raises money for charity.
He's a local artist, and you can see the passion in his work. Did you ever think as a kid growing up in Buffalo that public art, you know, this used to be called graffiti, get it off my wall, don't put that on my building. But now you have public art, these murals, they tell a story, they're lasting. Did you ever think that you would have a hand in something that would be lasting in the city of Buffalo?
Never. I did not. And so now, given that we have permission as artists, like we have permission and we have platform and we have support.
The Freedom Wall, there are several artists who participated. How many did you paint on that wall?
So there are 4 artists altogether, and there are 28 portraits, so each of us were responsible for 7.
Which one was your favorite?
Oh, well, I'll tell you the one that I cried in front of. I cried in front of Malcolm X. And I was very nervous about doing it, and I was, always questioning them, am I really capable? Did they make the right selection? Did I make the right choice of saying yes? And then right when I got to Malcolm X, it just put everything into perspective for me about somebody who actually had real fears that came to fruition. Like, he put his life on the line for something. And me creating that artwork wasn't me putting my life on the line. So in comparison to, it's like, you can do this, you got this, And so that's when I had a breakdown there and just was crying, like, in gratitude though. Like, just in gratitude for the opportunity. Gratitude for saying yes, and gratitude for being courageous enough to just, let go of my worries and my self-critique of, whether I'm good enough. And Harriet Tubman was another one of my favorite too. She was the 7th of the 7.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Especially at that time, the movie was getting ready to happen, and so people who hadn't known came to know who's Harriet Tubman, and here you are painting about the Black Moses.
Yeah, Black Moses. Yeah, that was a rich piece for me, for her to close it out. And in the middle of painting that, we had a solar eclipse that day. During that week that I was working on her, we had a solar eclipse, which made it even more special to me because she navigated by the stars, you know? So it just was like, I sat down during that time and just reflected and like, again, just reminded like, I'm supposed to be here.
Isn't that what civil rights though is all about? It's about opportunity, it's about courage, it's about all of this.
Yes, and awareness. It's about awareness, it's about creating awareness. And so messages, particularly like this one, is just a deeper read into making people thoughtful, you know, going beyond and looking further down the line. Like, love Black girls is a statement in itself. Even when they become women is a longer conversation, because now we're talking about the lifespan, you know, of a child, because we're going to grow, you know, children will grow, that's what we do. We have to evolve.
Do you think Martin Luther King would like that? Because he always talked about his 4 little children, Black boys, Black girls, and look at what we have.
Oh my goodness, I would really like to think this is in line with the work and his walk, you know, and what he spoke about, for sure. Because I mean, in one of his most famous speeches, he talks about little boys and girls playing together, little boys and white girls, little Black boys and like playing together. This is a part of it, you know, this is a part of it, and acknowledging them and seeing them, you know.
You know, not far from where we're standing right now here in downtown Buffalo is one of the most historic places in Western New York, the Michigan Street Baptist Church.
Yeah, it was a stop on the Underground Railroad, and the beloved pastor of that church, William Henderson, he passed away. We pay tribute to him right now. Bishop William Henderson died at the age of 85 with family by his side. His son, filmmaker Addison Henderson, is putting together a documentary about his father's life and shared this with commUNITY.
My father has dedicated his life to God and to this building, the Michigan Street Baptist Church. Once a part of the Underground Railroad and the birthplace of the NAACP, it was his will that kept this piece of history from being demolished. I often wonder, why the sacrifice? Does history even matter?
We will set the tub right here. And we take the hot water.
Thousands of people come to the Michigan Street Baptist Church for a peek at history.
People will come to hear him talk. He was such a great storyteller.
Bishop Henderson loved to tell the story about escaped slaves heading for Canada, hiding in a concealed area in the church basement. In the 70s, he took over the church and fought to preserve the building.
We had moved into the church because my dad was using all of his funds to basically keep the church standing. And I can just remember living in the bottom of that church and taking baths in this little still basin.
The family also lived in the Nash House. I spoke with Bishop Henderson a few years ago when a large check was handed over for the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor.
I think it's beautiful, long, lasting coming.
He was so proud of the archway marking the Heritage Corridor on Michigan, right near the church. And when the church at one time was vandalized, he was outspoken.
Either get yourself straightened out, get right with God, and come and apologize to the church for what you have done.
As a young man, he was known as Brother Billy.
I am just honored to be part of his bloodline, to be his son.
Because his father was special.
It was a great sacrifice. Nobody really realized the sacrifice that I put my family through. I appreciate them doing it, you know, but I think it was awful that they had to do it.
His legacy is one of faith, one of love, one of joy, and one of fortitude.
It's been given to you, and nobody can do for you what you can do for yourself. It is the only thing in Buffalo that is yet standing that says, this is the place where the slaves came and found refuge. You don't win a victory if you haven't been in a battle.
Up next, we're celebrating a Buffalo police officer who did his job by always putting community first.
Last summer, we saw protests around the country and even here in Western New York. The community was at odds with police.
But right now, we're going to be celebrating a man who wore a badge, but also put community first in all of his work, and saying happy retirement to Captain Steve Nichols. Community has always been central to Steve Nichols.
I was born and raised there. I love the West Side. It was home. It is home.
Growing up on Days Park in the city's Allentown neighborhood, the city was his classroom. After going to Hutch Tech and then Burgard, Nichols dropped out of school and joined the Navy, a move that ultimately helped him get his diploma, see the world, and refocus his priorities. It seems like the term community has run through your career and kind of dictated it as well.
Yeah, like I said, it was a natural for me, to be honest with you. I mean, my mom and my dad were very active in their community, and it's how I grew up. You know, the Lower West Side, growing up there, was a very diverse population. We didn't know any better. We all got along, and it was a very tight neighborhood. It was a very tough neighborhood, but we all got along with each other, and just be me.
And after joining the police department, he worked his way up in some of the city's toughest neighborhoods, getting to know the people and earning their trust. What are you most proud of?
Oh, geez. The relationships I've made with the people, to be honest with you, officers and community. I mean, I worked with some of the greatest, hardest working people I've ever met.
Nichols went on to make captain and became the face of the department's community engagement efforts, and most recently the department's coordinator for an array of community policing programs.
We've really built a great relationship with people, and just like when you make friends with people, you know, our reaching out to the community over the years, when we needed them, they stepped up and they were there for us.
He developed a strong working relationship with groups like the Stop the Violence Coalition, the Peacemakers, the Back to Basics Ministry, and the Crucial Center, where he focused on community initiatives like starting a bike drive for neighborhood kids and organizing events like ice cream socials.
To me, the biggest comment that ever came out of that was, the police are the public and the public are the police.
He says it's all about people working with people.
Policing is not about locking up criminals. It's about keeping the community safe and knocking crime down. And that starts right with the people who live in that community.
And getting out of the car and getting to know the people in the neighborhoods and building those relationships.
So we got, you know, a lot of our patrol cars have basketballs and footballs and baseballs, and, you know, it gives us the opportunity to get out and hang with the people.
Throughout his career, he drew inspiration from a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., one that he had posted in his office and one that he hopes will be embraced by future generations of law enforcement officers.
He said, men hate each other because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they don't communicate. They don't communicate because they're separated. And I'd like to think that I helped inspire some officers to get out there and communicate.
You know, on Community, we love our music, and this time we want to highlight a local artist, but let's be clear, he may be local, but he is a national artist.
Oh yeah, he's big time. And you know, we talk about artists celebrating and sharing their story. Well, in this case, he's sharing the story of Bill's Mafia. That's right, the man behind the Bill's Mafia anthem, Benny the Butcher. There's no doubt this season the Buffalo Bills have been the toast of the town, but as they headed into the playoffs, they also became the song of the town. Buffalo's own Benny the Butcher combined his hometown pride and his amazing talent to come up with a brand new fight song, Bill's Mafia Anthem.
We became like close with the Bills family and the Bills team.
He says it all started with their business relationship with Pegula Sports and Entertainment and really became reality when Kim Pegula interviewed him on her podcast.
She mentioned it, and I know, like, shout out K-Sweet Kelsey, she put it in play. And then the song was done quick. We did the merch thing, we had the song, we had the merch out, and the rest is history.
Benny the Butcher, Buffalo Bills t-shirts and hoodies came out, and of course, a new battle song.
I wanted to make it like real energetic, like a motivational fight song. Like I just imagine myself in the stands and trying to get motivated, and that's what I felt.
A song that fans could circle the wagons around.
I wrote the verse part. Me and the guys came up collectively with the Bills Mafia, We the Mafia part, and we took the Let's Go Buffalo from the other song to give us some type of familiarity with the fans in Buffalo. We wanted it to sound familiar and traditional, so we added that part in there.
They also added this hype video filmed right on the 50-yard line at Bills Stadium.
When I was on the field, I felt like Josh Allen, I can't lie. I felt like I was like Jim Kelly or Andre Reed or something. Like it was a dream come true just to be on the field where all the greats stood and to do something that was going to just to uplift and motivate the whole greater Niagara region. It just felt so good.
Benny says the other thing that felt great was that even though he couldn't be at the games or really be in the city, as he spent most of the pandemic in Atlanta, he says it felt great to be able to be part of such an amazing season.
So it's like so ironic that I used to like the box suites area. I used to clean that up. I used to go there with my little vacuum and wear my little vest for Janitor King. And so just to be able to do something like this and stand on the 50-yard line and just look up to the boxes where I work, it's just so inspirational. It's like it's a story within a story.
Just like his career, rising from an unknown to a major player in the rap and hip-hop scene in such a short time. How fast are we talking? Well, consider this. Just 7 years ago, Benny was up in the suites at the stadium, cleaning them.
Just off the rip, it's kind of been hard as a fan not to be around and not to play our position in the stands and be there for the team. But knowing that I could do the song and rally the fans together, knowing I could be a part of it some way without even going to the stadium, and that just make me feel good. And just especially in a season like this where, you know, everything is happening in sync and everything is going in the right direction.
And a story that he says reflects his hometown so well.
Just like a typical Buffalo story, man, just stay down and grind it out and you never know where it could take you.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? And Benny the Butcher is a great example of that.
Definitely so. He is definitely the real deal, and how nice to celebrate him on Community.
Yeah, we want to celebrate you and tell your story. If you've got a story you want to share with us and share with the community, get a hold of Claudine or myself on social media.
Until next time, thank you for joining us on Community 2021.